What we see when it comes to urban warfare is that wars are increasingly taking place in cities. This has a huge impact. The density of the population, the density of the infrastructure is so high that the impact of war in cities is devastating. The destruction, the number of people killed and injured is much higher than other types of battlefield. And that's clearly where our message is that the belligerent parties have to pay particular attention to the choice of weapons they're using in this type of battlefield.
وقاعد يقصفوا علينا قنابل وصواريخ والوضع كان يعني سيء. أنا حاليا قاعد فوق ركام البيت اللي كان مكون من 5 طوابق 6 شقق. المستقبل لغاية هالجيت مش مبين له أي عنوان ولا مبين له أي معاني.
Юность была моя очень хорошая, а вот старость. Так разбомбили дом, все сгорело. И вот мне теперь приходится в общежитии жить.
It can be bomb and missile, the indirect fire system, mortar, artillery for instance, or it can even be improvised explosive devices, any explosive weapons that has potentially a wide area effect around the area where it's used. They were not initially meant for urban warfare, they were meant basically for open battlefields. It can be state armed forces, it can be non-state armed groups. There's no typology or of type of parties that are using those explosive weapons with wide area effects.
When you attack an area with civil population in there, you have to think twice before using an artillery system. The artillery projectile is built of iron. Each projectile produces about between 5,000 and 7,000 steel, very hot shrapnels. They are very sharp, they are very hot, and they are very fast, so they kill people.
Any large explosive charge that gets inside a structure is devastating to people because the blast waves start bouncing around off the walls, the floors, the ceilings, they pass through doors, they blow down walls, and those blasts are channeled and severe.
معظم الإصابات هي عبارة عن قذائف إصابات بقذائف طيران أو صواريخ أو ضربات دبابات، ضربات البطن، الصدر، بتر الأطراف، ضربات الرأس من الرجال، من العساكر، مختلف طبقات المجتمع تصاب بالجروح.
Imagine that there is a war going on around you and there is a lot of fighting, and constantly projectiles are falling somewhere in your area. You don't know where the next round will fall. You don't know when it will fall. It drives people mad.
كل هالحارة كلها تشردت. بيلعبوا في الدمار. في الدمار. بيلعبوا يسمعوا كلام الطيارة ويهربوا.
The main impact for us is basically to prevent us from doing the work we are there for, to assist and to help the population. The general environment will be more insecure for us, and it will also create additional difficulty in terms of access, our ability to move, our ability to quickly drive to a hospital just after a bombing. Beyond this physical and psychological impact on the people, you also have the destruction of infrastructure, of basic public services. If a bomb destroys an electric station, that it will have an impact on the water distribution, it will have an impact on the wastewater, it will impact the hospitals. Hospitals will not have electricity, they will have to use generators, they will have to use water trucking. So there is really this domino effect because all the basic public services and infrastructure are extremely connected in a city.
بسبب الحرب انقطع علينا أساسيات الخدمة الأساسية من ماء وكهرباء وصرف صحي إلى آخره. بسبب الحرب أصبحت الأمراض منتشرة في جميع أنحاء صنعاء وغير صنعاء.
At times of intense conflict, where there's bombardment, it becomes incredibly difficult not only to be able to get in the consumables, to be able to maintain and provide these basic services, but also for municipal service provider staff to be able to gain access to maintain and repair service provision to the population.
And you can see that in several contexts where those public services are progressively collapsing up to a certain point of no return at some stage. Then massive displacement. People leave cities that are under siege, those who can, or that are simply where a war is taking place or when there is bombardment.
The devastating consequences for civilians from the use of explosive weapons with a wide impact area in densely populated areas raises serious questions about how parties to armed conflicts are applying international humanitarian law, and in particular the rules prohibiting indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks. Explosive weapons with wide area effects, either because they employ a munition with a large blast and fragmentation range, or a weapon system that is designed to saturate an area with explosive force, these weapons raise concerns in terms of whether it's possible to direct them against a specific military target located in a densely populated area. Can the effects of these weapons be, as far as possible, limited to the target, as is required by IHL?
You have to know where you are, you have to know exactly where the enemy is, where your target is. You have to know everything about ballistics. That means wind direction, wind speed, temperature of your gunpowder, the specifics of each gun. An artillery weapon system has never been designed originally as an accuracy system. It is an area weapon system.
We recognize that urban warfare, where enemy targets are commingled with civilians and civilian objects, presents a genuine operational challenge for military commanders. We're aware that some states and armed forces have adopted limitations on the use of heavy explosive weapons in populated areas. But with urban warfare becoming the new normal, it is imperative, it is a humanitarian imperative for parties to armed conflicts to change their behavior and adapt their choice of weapons and tactics with a view to better protecting civilians.
هي حرب جديدة على القوات العراقية وخاصة من بعد 2013. حقيقة أنه كانت حرب مدن خاصة، حرب ذات طابع مختلف، حرب عصابات تحتاج أنه كفاءات وقدرات ووحدات تكتيكية خاصة بحرب المدن ذات تدريب خاص. وكثير ما كانت يعني الانتصارات الأخيرة حسمتها وحدات تكتيكية صغيرة ومتمرسة بحرب المدن.
We are calling on states and parties to armed conflicts to avoid the use of explosive weapons with a wide impact area in populated areas. In other words, as a matter of policy, belligerents should not be using these weapons in cities, towns, and other populated areas because of the very high risk of civilian death, injury, and destruction. Indeed, heavy explosive weapons should not be used in populated areas unless mitigation measures have been taken to reduce significantly their area effects.